For most of my life, I thought fear was something that you had to get rid of before taking action. But the last few months have taught me something totally different. Some of the best things that have happened in my life came after I was scared to do them. Quitting my job, starting this YouTube channel. I talked a little bit about playing drums in a dream recording studio. Talked about that in the last video. And just saying yes to opportunities I didn't feel, qualified for. I've been thinking a lot about fear lately and just kind of wanted to share what I've learned, what I'm still learning about it. And yeah, kind of just when I was reviewing last week's video, I just realized how much I talked about fear, making the clips from last week's video. I was like, man, a lot of this is talking about fear, and I think it just deserves its own video because the more I sat and thought about it, I realized that was a big part of like what kept me, in my previous situation, like with my job and everything, and not going for things that kind of always weighed on my heart, like that I wanted to try or that I, kind of doubted, I guess, in a way. Yeah, I kind of just realized like fear sort of acts like protection, or I guess you kind of mistake it for protection. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it sounds reasonable and responsible and convinces you that, staying where you're at is safer and, sensible, like staying at your day job, which once again, I'm not advising people to just quit their jobs, unless you're absolutely miserable, unless maybe if you've got some money saved up or a plan, or like, feel called to do something or whatever. But yeah, I do these to share my story, things that have helped me and all that. As you know, what the hell do I know? So, we naturally avoid uncertainty and discomfort. Most people don't realize how many decisions are being made out of fear, or decisions are not being made out of fear. Like I said, fear doesn't usually tell you it's fear. It a lot of times it just, it sounds like common sense. Stay at your job. Keep trying to work your way up that corporate ladder. Don't go play, trying to play music for a living, or, whatever it is. Just saying those things, like, to me, it's like, yeah, a lot of people would probably agree with those statements, but no. Yeah, like I said, fear just kept me stuck, staying in situations longer than necessary. I was at my job for 8 years, and I talk about my job and stuff, and yeah, I just quit, recently, and it wasn't like there's plenty of jobs that I could have been a lot worse off at, like a lot more unhappy and miserable working at, but essentially it was a 40-hour a week desk job at a computer, doing the same routine every day pretty much. And this one in particular didn't have a lot of room for growth and things, like you kind of can max out and be stuck for a while where you're at. And, I was there 8 years and sort of had hit that ceiling, and had been at that ceiling for, a good 2.5 years probably, and just stayed there with these thoughts of like wanting to do this type of stuff and just do something different and take a leap. And I always made the excuse like, oh, I don't have time to work on music, or I don't have time to make, these kind of health, mindset type videos and do my podcast thing, or whatever you want to call it. Because I have to go to work 40 hours a week, and all my free time, like, it finally clicked. Like, if I don't quit my job, I'm going to keep making excuses. So here we are, avoiding change because it felt risky. Yeah, I still feel a lot of uncertainty. If I waited until the perfect time, I would still be there waiting, because that perfect time would never have came. I would have never felt ready. I could have, if I was planned on waiting until I was ready, I'd still be there. Looking for certainty before taking action. I mean, these are all things how fear just kept me stuck, staying comfortable while feeling unfulfilled. That's a huge one. Like, just every day walking in the office, it just, and just other people's energy, like, we feed off of that, and the more you like wake up to that fact, like that other people's energy, or just seeing them, or just like you can tell, like a lot of times, like the just without even them saying a word, you can pick up the energy from them. And a lot of times it's just, you can tell people don't want to be there, or they, whatever it is, it's just a little bit of negativity, just first thing in the morning walking in, it's like, man, I just got here. What are we doing? So, I spent a lot of time waiting for confidence, not realizing confidence usually comes after taking the step, and I'm still learning that. Like, it's still like, it took me a lot of like really reflecting to even write that down here, because I'm still learning that, I'm still getting new opportunities coming my way, and I'm saying yes to things I normally wouldn't have, and gaining a lot of insight and confidence, and just great experiences just from saying things that I'm normally wouldn't, be out of fear, and the fears leading up to quitting my job, obviously the financial concerns, obviously, no steady paycheck, no, knowing when your money's coming in your bank account and how much every week, and the fear that I'm making a mistake. I don't fear that I made a mistake necessarily, but the fear that, I'll get too deep in a hole, and I guess, yeah, have a little regret, like, man, I should have stayed there and kept that steady money. But I feel so much weight off my chest, and things are going great, and I'm staying busy and active, and I've been actually working a lot on new music lately, which I've always, like, on and off worked on music, like pretty like spaced out, but like consistently, but with weeks in between of working on new stuff, or sometimes months. But now it's been like, every day I'm going back and working on projects. So it's been cool. The fear of what other people might think, I still have that, like, even obviously posting this, and a lot of me thinks how, don't so much like talk about things, just do them and let your actions speak for themselves. And, hustle and silence, like those types of things are, hit heavy with me. Like, I definitely am a firm believer in those things. But I think sharing this with people that, are in a similar mindset that I was in at the point, before all these changes started, happening, I started taking these small steps towards, a healthier, mindset and mentality. And just, I think it's more important to share this stuff for those people that are in similar situations. So, yeah, it's a little scary, getting, being so open and stuff about, my life and my personal life and my job, and even just taking a video, of me in my home and sharing all these things. Like, as much as I want to say I don't care what people think, like, I should rephrase that, because I've said that a few times on my videos. But I want more people, obviously, to engage and follow these things and comment and like and share and subscribe. I think anyone would want that. But I'm not so bothered by the people that might have, negative thoughts or negative, which no one's really like had any negative comments or anything. But I'm sure people have seen my videos, like, oh, look at this, here he is again posting a clip about, just rambling and talking like he knows everything, or whatever. But I don't sit and dwell on those things and think that people are saying that. Yeah, fear of what other people might think, fear of not knowing what comes next. I still every day have that fear. Like, I have one gig on the books right now. I played a private party last night. I play a gig Wednesday next week at this, local, restaurant and bar in town. And after that, I don't. I think I may have a couple of like guitar fill-in gigs, like a month or two down the road. But it's like, where's my money going to come in from? And I've been dealing with that for 2 months now since quitting my job. And it's like the opportunities at the last minute, something will come up, and it's worked out really well. Like, I'm a lot more available, like, in booking agents and things know that. So, if someone like cancels, or some venue needs a last minute, like they want to get someone to come play, a lot of these agents will hit me up. And because a lot of people are already booked or, have a job and they can't just do something like that at the drop of a pen, So yeah, all those fears and feeling called to make a change anyway. Like I said, I just knew I had to change something or I would be stuck where I was at. And a big part of it was losing my dog, like having to put my dog down after such a tough like battle. It really changed my perspective on life and made me realize how short and precious life is, and to make the most of every day. And I spent, like I said, probably $12,000 or more in total on procedures and surgery and medicines and rechecks and follow-up procedures and all kinds of things and issues and supplements and all these things to try whatever I could to help my dog and still losing that battle. And I kind of like still daily, like it's a good reminder. I have a painting up here of my dog on the wall. And it's just a good reminder because I like made a vow, like I'm going to seize the freaking day every day. And like I said, I spent all that money and it doesn't even matter. Like it doesn't bother me that I spent all that money. I would do it again right now. Like that's a whole nother thing. Like a lot of people were worried so much about having money, but and yeah, you need money. Like, yeah, I want to, buy my kid her first car and, paying for her braces and, put her through college if she wants to go to college or whatever, she wants to do. And, obviously take care of my bills and have things that I need. And if I get to a point where I'm unable to do that, maybe I'll find another day job, but I haven't got there yet. And God's been really good to me and he's a provider, and just like I said, you got to remain faithful and disciplined. And I think he'll keep, looking out for you. One of the biggest surprises was, realizing fear doesn't vanish after you make a big decision or take a big leap like that. Fear is still there every day. I just, when it arises, I just try to remember, like, look at how things have gone so far. So, and yeah, all the opportunities on the other side of that, playing drums in the Dream Studio, being in a place you always admired like that, and at the same time doing something that you've never done. Like like playing guitar or singing backup vocals or even playing bass or something. Like I would envision getting hired to do any of those things before drums, but there you go, and saying yes despite not feeling qualified and being so glad that I did, do hard things, and that's where you grow. Like I said, gigs showing up when needed, unexpected financial provision, abundance and tips at all these gigs that I've been playing, like going viral on my music page with just the most random thing, meeting a lot of awesome people or rekindling relationships from people that I've known forever. To just people change. I've changed so much just in the past 2 months, let alone the past 3 years. Like I feel like I've lived 100 lifetimes just in the past 3 years. So people change, and people that you knew have known forever that you hadn't really been super close with, you might align, and it's cool just to see how things align like that. Like that's a lot of what it is. People I've known forever that I'm just aligning with now. It's been really cool. And most of the opportunities that changed my life were invisible until I, quit my job or I said yes to this thing that I've never done. And probably the biggest part that I try to remember to talk about, and give credit where it's due, is how much my faith changed my relationship with that fear. Like I have 2 T-shirts that say "Faith Over Fear" that my receptionist at my old job got me, and those are probably my favorite shirts. Like especially now, because faith over fear. Like you got to trust God. If you think you're doing something that feels good and feels right, you got to just trust, even though it's scary to do something. And that's what I'm learning now. That's why I'm sharing this video, is that putting your faith over fear, like it is so freeing and so fulfilling. And a lot of times, like, I'm just sitting at home, like, not just sitting here, I'm doing stuff, working on music or making content or cooking or meal prepping, or cleaning or laundry or playing with my dog or going for walks, like whatever it is, working on my garden. It's been so awesome. Trusting God more deeply, and that trust is growing through this whole experience. Realizing you don't need every answer to make a decision. You don't have to know the answer up front, and learning to move forward without guarantees. Faith becoming practical instead of theoretical. And yeah, just this trust growing through these experiences and choosing belief in myself over like dwelling on these like worst case scenarios. Like I used to always do that, like, oh, I could do this, but it's probably not going to work out. Or, yeah, I could, make this video, but people are probably not going to like it. And that's really like that, like, not saying that's the case. It just maybe hadn't found its audience yet. Like this, Preston Scott project thing that I'm doing, but like just from my music little post that went viral, like that's the last thing I would expect it to have gone viral, just because it was such like a niche kind of like genre of music and a dog. Like it was a combo of things that if that can do it, I know that this type of content has an audience and there's people that need to see it. So I just know that I'm doing the right thing sharing this stuff. So I've learned that faith isn't knowing exactly what's going to happen. It's trusting God when you don't. And that's the biggest part of it. Just trusting, having the faith, and it just have a little bit of faith and it goes a long way. I'm telling you, and just ride that little bit of faith into taking the step and game on. All you got to do is take that step into something, and there's no turning back. So courage comes before confidence. Most growth, it seems, requires uncertainty. Like all the growth that has happened in the past couple of months, there was a whole lot of fear and uncertainty beforehand. And I just, I think quitting my job, like taking such a big leap, has made other things in life like so much easier to say yes to things that I'm a little afraid of doing. You don't need the entire path revealed. Like I said, action creates clarity. You do the thing, and then it's always hindsight is 2020. And even things that like terrible things or things that I thought were terrible that happened a decade ago or 5 years ago or however long, just a few months ago, just bad things that I thought were so terrible and gonna be the end of me. Like in hindsight now, I'm like, oh, now I understand why that happened, to teach me this, or so I would develop this, like, or I would grow stronger, and my perseverance, and just God persevering through all these situations in my life is another like key factor. Like all the terrible things, God, he's always there, like I can say he's always there, but he's always there, so don't forget that. Like right now, I can take 5 seconds, and I don't even have to say it out loud, but you can just in public, wherever you're at, you can have a little request with God, or pray about something. 5 seconds, just one little thing. If you see something you think needs to be prayed for, you can do it. Like never forget that, and believe it. Believe that God is there and he hears you. And the goal is not to become fearless. Like I think you'll always have that dwelling fear. You might not be as fearful of things, but the goal is becoming someone who isn't controlled by that fear, and just realizing do the thing despite being afraid to do it, or afraid what could happen. I don't know the exact quote, but don't dwell on what could go wrong. Just imagine what could go right. Like put out your songs, post your art, post your poems, you never know what's going to, impact 100 people or 1,000 people or 1 billion people. Like you don't know. So do it. And if it makes you happy to create things, share it. Like that's a huge thing that I'm learning. Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, just the fear and doing things anyways. And I wanted to keep this one kind of short, but just some closing thoughts. Um, the biggest thing I've learned is that courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward even when fear is still there. And I will keep repeating that. For a long time, I thought I needed certainty before I could take action. I thought I needed confidence before I could make changes. But lately, I've realized that life doesn't really work that way. Most of the best things that have happened in my life recently started with uncertainty. They started with taking a step before I felt fully ready. You'll never feel fully ready. They started with trusting God when I couldn't see the entire path. It's like when you're on the path, it naturally unfolds before you as you're walking, I still experience fear. I still have doubts. I still don't know exactly where all this is going, where it's going to lead to. But I know this: fear has cost me far more than failure ever has. I could have started this way sooner, and I could be further along in this, the Preston Scott project or working on new music if I had taken this step way further back, and start now. The sooner you start, a year from now, like right now, I think I have like 230, subscribers on this YouTube channel. And a year from now, I could have 23,000, who knows? I could have, even if it's 2,000, like that's an insane, number of people to be subscribing to your content. Like I'm so grateful for 230 people, and the opportunities, the growth, the peace, the meaning I've experienced recently all came after I chose to move forward anyway. Fear is still riding shotgun with me a lot of the times, and you just got to buckle up and enjoy the grind. Enjoy just the journey. That's the whole point of it, is just the journey and enjoying every step of the way, like the ups, the downs. For the first time in a long time, the fear is not driving the vehicle, That's what I'm learning about fear, and I just thought it was important to share that. And I know a lot of these things have been repeated in, my last video or other videos, but I thought that the whole idea of fear is always going to be present, and you just got to move forward anyways and not let the fear be the driver. I thought that was worthy of its own episode here on the Preston Scott Project. So as always, man, I appreciate anyone that's made it this far, anyone that has watched, all my videos. Like, I'm so grateful for you guys. And anyone that, DMs me or comments or shares or likes anything that I have been posting, like, it really does mean the world. So keep doing that. If you got anything out of this, let me know in the comments. Let me know something that you did, even though you were fearful prior to taking that step and proceeding with it. Let me know. If you've been watching the videos and you're not subscribed, please click that subscribe button, like the video, share it with a friend. Yeah, remember, you don't change overnight. You change daily. Thank you guys again, man. Much love. Peace.